all the 20 participants over here are okay. All the 20 participants over here are able to hear me and ready to start with tech. Yes. Okay. Okay, good. So now, can you guys tell me what have we discussed in our previous session? What was our previous discussion?
We have discussed about array list.
Okay, good.
And then the linked list and the comparable and comparative classes.
Okay, great, good. So now I'll be giving some more add-on reference for you to go through the remaining interfaces. As I've already told you, for all other interfaces, whatever we have learned in our list interface, the same is applicable. Only like when do you use what, that alone will be a major difference. Okay, so for that I'll be giving some resources and I want every one of you to go through that so that you'll be able to know the difference and you can use that post the training also. You can use that resources post the training also. Is that clear? Okay, great. So now we are moving on for the next set of concepts. Now we have learned the implementation of core Java, and we have known like what is the importance of Java, like using Java, what can we do, everything. And I believe every one of you know what is the name of this training program. What was the training program name? This is about what technical course? Java full stack. What is full stack? What is full stack? Using storage medium and web pages, backend and front end and database. Okay, good. So yes, when we say full stack, it's a full application development. When we say an application development, it includes the combination of front end and the backend. So when we say backend only, database will also be included. Okay, database is not a separate thing. Including database only, we have the backend. So when we say backend, database plus business layer is your backend. For database, what do we want? We want MySQL Workbench. For business, what do we want? We want Java. So database MySQL is already done. Business layer Java is done. Okay. On that note, now we are going to learn the same backend implementation as a combination. So what happened? We know how to work in Eclipse implementing Java. We know how to write queries in your SQL Workbench. Right now, what are we going to do is how are we going to make sure your complete backend works? Backend is of two divisions. We learned each and every division separately. Now we are going to learn us together how are they going to work. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. Now, how many of you know that we can send instructions from the business layer so that it can be reflected in your database and you get your output? How many of you know that? How many of you know that? Okay, should I consider the silence to be none of you know that? Okay, fine. So now the basic thing is whenever you are performing the basic works in your application, we will consider the four major operation, which is CRUD operation. Heard about the terminology called CRUD? Have you heard the terminology CRUD? Okay, so the CRUD, okay, maybe I'll write it down in the chat. It's CRUD. I'll tell you what is the full form of this. Okay, the operation which we do in the back end, the major four operations which we do in the back end is nothing but CRUD operation. Okay, so C stands for create, R stands for retrieve, U stands for update, and D stands for delete. I repeat, C is for create, R is for retrieve, U is for update, and D is for delete. Is that clear? Okay, so whenever we work on any of your web pages or your application, whenever an account you wanted to create it, whenever you wanted to start using that application, then you create an account. That is create operation. Now, whenever you wanted to know your account details, then you perform retrieval operation. That is R, retrieval operation. Next, whenever if there is any mobile number you want to modify, or if you want to change your email ID, then it is update. Then in case if you don't wish to continue using that application, you delete your account. That is what the major 4 operation which you should know. If you know this major 4 operation, you will be able to learn the other operation. I will never say that this is the end of your operation. In real time, every one of you would have experienced that we do multiple operations apart from this CRUD. Okay, but you should be confident. You should have a clear understanding on the basics. That is why we are starting with the CRUD operation. Okay, now how do we make sure that your business and your database interact with each other and make sure your backend is working properly? So in the beginning of the training program, I would have given you an example of Amazon purchase application app. How does it works? Front end, back end, database, everything. How does it works? Right. Only if your back end is properly working, you can connect it to your front end and make an application as a successful one. Okay. So the point is, how are we going to interact with your business layer and database layer? If you ask me, we are going to use a framework called Spring Framework. Heard about Spring Framework? No, okay. There is a framework called Spring, which helps us in many other advantages. Okay, well, there are lots of benefits because this Spring Framework is a current in the IT industry. Currently, they are working on Spring Boot, which is one of the project of your Spring Framework only. We are also going to work on the project using the Spring Boot only. But today, I'll just give you an idea why are we going to use that so that you can implement it in your next session. Okay, now this Spring Framework, what is the advantage if you ask me? So generally, if you build your Java, generally when you create your Java project, what happens? What all will be there in your Java project? What all do you have in the Java project? When you create a Java project in Eclipse, what all you are able to find inside it? Apart from recreating, by default, what all you get? Open your Java project or create a Java project in your Eclipse. Have a look and tell me. Do we have packages or we create package? So the question, listen to the question properly. When I create a Java project, what all will be there? After that, we may add our required folders or classes or a package. That is secondary. As Sheikh Muhammad says, we have an SRC folder. Good. One more thing we'll have. What was that? Have a look at least and tell me. SRC settings, no. Okay, let me open an Eclipse and I'll show you when we create a Java project, what do we have? I'm starting my Eclipse. In case if there is anyone or have your Eclipse already open, you can share your screen. Okay, I don't think so. Anyone sharing your... Yes, JRE system library, we do have. Yes, I'm sharing my Eclipse screen. Is it visible? Yes, no, yes. So now here, when I create a Java project, I'll say file new and I'll create a Java project. Now I'll say this is my demo project. Okay. So now when I give a finish, Do not create. Now here inside my demo, what do I have? I have one attachment which is JRE system library and the version was 17. Next, I'll have my SRC folder. This is what we get. Now, in case if you wanted to add the extra requirement, like you create a folder, you create a package, you create a class, or you create the external library files. What is the problem is you have to manually do it one by one. That actually consumes your time and actually that will load your project also. But when you use your Spring framework, that is a easier one because at that time of creation only, it will give all the requirements. Okay, so now I'm going to share the screen of my other application, which we will be using it for the next few days for your Spring implementation. And it is also getting started. Just give me a minute. And I want every one of you to install this application in your laptop. So I'm sharing my screen. Is my screen visible? Yes, so this is exactly the same as your Eclipse only, but the name of your application is Spring Tool Suite. So this is the application we use for the Spring framework. Okay, so using that, we create the project and we work on. What is the advantage if you ask me? Okay, here you have an option of creating Spring Starter project. What is the Spring Starter project? So this project will give you all the basic requirements which you wanted to perform the backend work. You need not. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Is my screen visible or not?
Visible, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. So now, instead of we spending our time, spending our energy, spending our efficiency in making our project requirement ready, if we have some time to invest in logic implementation, our applications market will be increasing. Okay, so that is why we are moving on to this application, which is Spring Tool Suite. And in current IT industry, for the backend work, for your business connection to your database, every one of the IT people are using the Spring Tool Suite only. So this is an open resource which you can download it from the internet and you can start using it. Okay, as like your Eclipse only. So now here, you can also, now what are we going to discuss it for the day is, you're going to understand the basic two terminologies, okay, which is the concept of your Spring framework. Why am I telling you this is, in your Spring Boot implementation, we do not sit and instruct the compiler each and everything in detail. So for example, if I wanted to ask you a question, if you are a person who is not aware of it, I'll give you a detailed explanation saying what is this, why am I asking you to tell this, with the help of that what I can do, how will you be benefited, all this explanation I will be giving. And in case if I wanted to ask the same question to a person who knows about it, I can just ask them, I need this because of this reason. It's a very simple way. Correct. Similarly, your Spring Starter project will also work in the second way. You just tell your compiler that you wanted to do create operation with few instructions, a very basic, a single liner instruction. Okay, it will complete the task and give you. But how is it completing the task, the internal working or the hidden working? You should have a knowledge on that. Only then you can understand, okay, just because I write this is what happening. That is why I get output. So today's session is about how the internal working happens. Tomorrow I'll tell what you should do to make this internal working happen so that you will know how the Spring Boot works. Clear for everyone? Okay. So there are two basic terminologies which every one of you should keep it in your mind. The first one was Spring IOC. Okay. IOC stands for inversion of control. I repeat, The first terminology which you should keep it in your mind is Spring IOC, which is inversion of control. The second terminology is Spring DI, which is dependency injection. Clear? Have you made note both the terminologies? Okay, great. Now, what is this IOC? What is this DI? We'll understand first theoretically, then we will go on. Yes, I'll repeat. It is Spring IOC, which is inversion of control, and Spring DI, which is dependency injection. People who have made note, raise up your hands. Okay, out of 19 to 18 participants, only 8 of you have raised up your hand. Others? Okay, good. So now, in general, what do we do in Java? Whenever you wanted to access any variable or method or any part of your program, what is the very basic thing we do in Java? What do we do? Maybe I'll go with the implementation only. So here, I will create, instead of creating a Java project, to understand the concept of Spring Framework, I'll create a Maven project. What is this Maven project? It is nothing but a management tool. Okay, this gives me all the respective requirement, manage it into your project. See here, when I go creating a Maven project, I will have this pop-up. With this, I'll create a simple project to be created. Here, I'll give my name. So as the first concept is IOC, I'll say Spring IOC. And I'll give the group ID, artifact ID. So what is this group ID, artifact ID? You will get to know when we are working in our Spring Starter project tomorrow. Okay, as of now, I'm giving a similar name because for this concept, it is more than sufficient. And since I've already have, maybe I'll give B Spring IOC. Okay, I'll give the same everywhere and let me finish it. So the project, okay, so here it is. So now here what happens is, now again I'm asking you the same question. In your Java project, once you have created, what all available inside your project? Inside your Java project, what all you had?
SRC and JRE libraries.
SRC and JRE system library, correct? Now see here, when I open the project which we created now, what all I'm having? Can someone read it out? What all am I having? What all am I having? I hope it is visible.
Target.
Yeah, just read it out. Have a look and tell me what you have. What is this? If not, zoom it and have a look. Maybe if you're joined through mobile, it might not be visible.
Java.
SRC main Java. Next.
SRC main resources.
Okay, good. Next.
SRC test Java.
Yeah, continue.
SRC test resources. JRE system library. SRC target.
And pom.xml. Okay.
XML.
So in your Java project, what you had only JRE system library and you had only SRC folder. Correct. Now, inside this SRC folder, you have two folders again in your Maven project. What is that? Main and test. So this main is again categorized into two divisions, saying under main Java, under main resources. And for test, you have under test Java and test resources. Okay, next you have this pom.xml. So let me explain you what is this. Okay, this is the first difference when you go for your Java project to the Maven project. Now, what is this test and main? So whatever we saw in Java project was main, and the same is over here also. Adding on to main, you have one more folder which is test. What is that? Is nothing but, in general, being a developer, everyone has to do one testing, which is unit testing. I believe every one of you know there are two departments saying developer and testing. Yes? There are two departments like developer testing, correct? So now the one who develops the application will be under the developer team, and the one who tests the application means once you have developed the application, before sending to the market, they will be sending to the testing department, and the testing department will test for all the possible scenarios, like if the user does this, is my application correctly responding? If I do this, is it giving me warning? So all this testing will be done by the testing department. This is the real-time scenario. After the testing department says this application is succeeded for all the test cases, it will be sent to the market. Now, in between of that, okay, a small thing which most of us doesn't know is developers should also do one testing before sending to the testing department. This is a very simple logic. Now, if you are writing a document, or if you are attaching an email, if you are writing a body of your email, before you sending that email, will you re-verify it? Will you check it again? Like, did I make any mistake? Or is there any issues? Will we do that or not? Yes, correct. So something similar only in the technical field also. Before sending our developed application to the testing department, we will do a testing, and that is unit testing. Unit means a single quantity, correct? In general, okay. So what does this unit testing does is, it checks method by method. It checks logic by logic. Am I doing properly everything? Is this giving me correct output? Instead of running your complete project, you check a method by method and you check, is it working properly? Is that clear? That is testing. So in Java project, if you wanted to do testing, you have to manually add the respective resources. But when you go for your Maven project, or when you go for your Spring Starter project, the task is easier because it is automatically added into your project. Is that clear till now? Whatever I have told you, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is what this main and test folder. And for that, you have two separate divisions. You write the code in Java. If you wanted to pass any information, like connection, where you wanted to connect, what is the username, what is the password, such type of informations will be under your resources. And this pom.xml is nothing but, now how we can create a Maven, Java project, and we can add the respective informations into it. Inside your Maven project also, you can convert your project. Now this is Maven project. I can convert this project to a Spring project. How do I do that? So if you open your pom.xml, this has your basic information that you have created a Maven project, and this is the version, and this is a group ID which you have given, artifact ID, and the name of your project, and what is the reason for you project creation. Now here you can add your dependencies. So here I'll add dependencies. This is only for your Maven project, only for today. Tomorrow you need not do it because I'm just telling you the internal working. Now how will you add your dependencies? What all dependencies you will be adding? If you ask me, this is your Maven project, and the concept of IOC is your Spring Framework concept. So you have to convert this Maven project to a Spring project. For that, what all dependencies you want? I'll give a comment. Okay. Let me first write it. What all you want? Spring core. I want every one of you to make note. That is why I'm typing it. We want Spring core. Then we want Spring context. Then you want Tomcat Servlet API. Next you want Java Servlet API. Is that clear? So I'll tell you what is the reason for or what is the need for each and everything. Okay, before that, make note and let me know. Okay, have you guys made note? Okay, so now here, so now how are we going to add? Okay, that is very, very important. Now how we will add one by one. For that, I'll switch my screen to the browser. Okay, once it is visible, let me know. Is my screen visible? The browser, Google Chrome. Yeah, so I want every one of you to go for Maven repository. Okay, so you will end up reaching this website, which is mavenrepository.com. So over here, you will find all the repositories which are available in market. Okay, so I repeat, you have to go typing Maven repository in your browser, and in that you have to go for the official website, which is mavenrepository.com, in which you will be able to find all the dependencies. What is dependency is nothing but now when we receive laptop, we'll have the basic setup, but we will get antivirus, correct? That was an add-on which we add to our laptop. Yes or no? Yes, no. Yes. Similarly, tell me what all add-ons we will do once we receive our laptop. What all we get?
Installing
softwares.
Softwares. To make it very simple, we install all the required software. Similarly, I wanted to make sure my Spring framework or Spring features are added into my Maven project. So I will take the respective one from my repository. So what was the first one? It is Spring Core. So I'll type Spring Core over here. And when I search for that, here you will get Spring Core. Okay, now I go for this. Then here, all the versions of Spring Core are available. Okay, and the topmost one will always be the most recent one. See the date, when was the recent update? It is October 12, 2023. And right now we are in October 16. 4 days back, there was an update. Okay, so here, how will you take this updated version of your Spring Core is just tap on the version number. Okay, and in which you have Maven. See, there are so many other types of project and we are creating a Maven project. Okay, here you will have your dependency. Do a copy. Okay, and go back to your Spring representation. Okay, I mean the Spring tool suite. I'm going to my Spring tool suite. Is my Spring tool suite visible? Yes. Now in between of these dependencies, okay, you have to paste this. Is that clear? Is my spelling wrong for dependencies? No, right? Let me write it again. Somewhere some extra lines were added, I guess. Okay, but try. So here I'll add. Let me take it from another project. This is just the edition issues. That's it. Okay. I guess we have disturbed the project before creation. Let me create the project again. So I'm not going to do any changes. Have a look properly. I'm creating a new Maven project. And I'll create a simple Java project. I mean simple sample project. And I'll give the ID to be maybe B73 Spring IOC. I'll give the same here. I'll give the same here. And I'll say Spring inversion of control. And let me finish it. See here at the bottom, creating project. This should not be disturbed. In case if we disturb that, that will create an issue. So we have B73 over here. The exact same you have. Let me open. You have SRC main Java, SRC main resources, test Java, test resources, JRE system library, and your SRC will have two folders, which is main and test, target, pom.xml. Okay, now you open your pom.xml. Yes, it is error free now. Now here I will give dependencies. Done. And in between of this, we are going to paste the Spring Core, which we have copied. So let me paste that. Okay, first dependency is added. Now, what was the second one? What was your second one?
Spring context.
Spring context. Okay, now what I'll do is I will show you what is that. Spring context. You will have a comment over here and you'll have the group ID, artifact ID and the version of your Spring context. Next, it was Java Servlet API. So this is your Java Servlet API 1 and this is your Tomcat Servlet API 1. How do you take it? Just type the name, whatever I have told you in the search bar and you get your result. I mean, you get your result as per your search and go for the topmost one, which is the most updated version, and you copy the dependency and paste it in your particular pom.xml. Okay, so over here, as a time saving process, I will copy from the previous project. And I believe you guys will be able to do, since I have given a demo for one. And again, if you want me to explain, I'll explain, not a problem. Is there anyone having an issue? What does it say? Okay, it as per the thing, the closing was an issue. So I'll do a copy. Somewhere some extra spaces, everything was there. See here, some extra space here. You have just give me a minute. Are we working in the same project or a different project? Okay, is there anyone doing in a live basis? Okay, can anyone share the screen? I'll instruct you can do so that it will be sorted. I guess my creation was making a problem. Is there anyone joined through laptop can do it now? Yes, okay. So Akib, you can start sharing your screen.
It was a mistake. I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay, fine. So is there anyone over here joined through laptop can share the screen and follow the instruction so that I can show you how should you add the dependency to your project. So that can be a time saving process instead of checking out my application issue. No one is ready. Okay, just give me a minute or two. I'll check the issue in my application. Yeah, let me share my screen again. So it is sorted. So nothing I did, I created a separate project again and I waited for the project to be completely created. That was the first one. The second one was the internet issue again. So again, when you wanted to work with Eclipse application, you do not need internet. You can even work in the offline mode, but when you work in your Spring tool suite, I mean, when you work in your Spring Boot project, Spring Framework project, you are in need of internet because it is automatically created and everything is connected to each other in a internet basis. Okay. So now see here, we have we have this dependency. The project name which I have created is B66. Since even we have B66 students, I created B66 Spring IOC. Inside my pom.xml, I have created this dependencies. Okay, so over here, I will copy the dependency. The first one was Spring IOC. So I'm copying that and pasting it over here. Spring IOC was pasted. Next, we want the Spring context. So I'll be searching for Spring context and I'll be giving the same. So similarly, you will have your most updated version. That version, time, everything will be mentioned over there only. I'll paste the Spring context. Next, we will be in need of, what was the third one? Tomcat Servlet API. When you go for that, you have to find for the Tomcat Servlet API and you will be taking the most updated version and you'll paste it one by one. That's it. And the last one was Java Servlet API. Java Servlet API. I'll take the respective one. So in case for the Java Servlet API, if you have a redirection, you can please do go for that. It keeps changing. So please follow the instruction. Now I've added Spring Core. Next I have added Spring Context. Next I've added Tomcat Servlet API and Java and Jakarta. Both are same. I've added over here. Now is this clear till now? People are clear with this? Raise up your hands. If you have any doubts, please do ask me. Okay, now if you just add it into your project, that is not sufficient. I mean, just if you copy paste into your pom.xml, it is not sufficient. You have to save it. Only then this will be added into your project. This features will be added into your project. So you'll have the save button. Click on save. So what happens here? Could you see one more add-on folder, which is Maven dependency? Everyone, are you able to view it? Yes, no. Yes, now your Maven project has become as a Spring supporting project. Now, inside this main Java, what do? We will create the package. So I wanted to work on with Spring IOC. So I'll say com.cg.spring IOC, into which I'm going to work on with an example of SIM card. So I'm creating an interface called SIM and let it get created. It takes some time because it is internet supported. Next, I will create a class called Airtel. Next, I will create a class called Jio. And I will create a class called Mobile, which is your main class, public static void. Is that clear? I have created one interface which is SIM, and Airtel is a SIM card, Jio is a SIM card, and we want mobile to use it up. Now, I will say Airtel is a SIM. How do I technically make sure it is? I say implement SIM. Similarly, Jio is a SIM, then I'll say Jio implements SIM. Done. And this is also done. Correct. So now I will say we do basic two operation. One was calling and the other one was data. I mean browsing. For that internet data we wanted, right? Browsing. And I will say this will implement, because abstract methods has to be implemented by the implementable class. I'll say implements over here. Now I'll say a simple printing statement. All these are Java concepts. That's why I'm going without even asking a question. Is that clear? So calling using Airtel and browsing using Airtel. Similarly for Jio, I will say calling using Jio, browsing using Jio. Done. Now, if I wanted to use, I believe every one of you know in real time, in a mobile, we can use only one SIM card at a time for a calling or for browsing. That everyone knows, right? Yes. Now, how do you tell that which one are you using? You create object. Technically, how do you tell them? You create object. You say Airtel, A is equal to new Airtel. Then you say A dot calling, A dot data. Okay, done. Now when I run my code, I will have calling using Airtel and browsing using Airtel. Done. Now in case if I wanted to work with Jio, I mean switch to Jio network, then I'll say Jio J is equal to new Jio. Okay. Now when I run my code, okay, I have to go for reference with J. Now when I run the code, I'll be having calling using Jio and browsing using Jio. This is what we have learned in Java, correct? Yes. Now, what is the inefficiency or how is it practically possible? How is it not practically possible? I am telling us. Tell me now you had 2 SIM cards and you are doing it. And in a mobile maximum, we can go with dual SIM card. Okay, accepted. But the one who is developing should develop for all the available SIM cards or will he be specific to 1 or 2? What do you all? Generally, the program has to be designed and depends on the user. He or she will be designed which SIM card to be used, correct? Now, in case if you are generating or creating or developing a program for all, is it practically possible to create object for all the available SIM cards? Maybe we can do it, but is that an effective one? What do you think? For example, if you have 10 SIM cards available in the market and if you're writing a program which includes all the 10 SIM cards, to check for all the 10 SIM cards, will you create 10 different objects? Technically, we know how to create it. Compiler does the work and give back the output. But do you think that's an effective work or not? Do you think that's an effective work or not? You have to tell your opinion. You can also tell me, no, maybe. It's not an effective one. That is the right answer, correct? So now, that is why we are going for the concept of IOC. As the name itself tells you, inversion of control. The object creation control was in our hand and I would like to inverse it and give to Spring Framework. That is why the topic name is inversion of control. Inversion of control means you're inversing the control. You're transferring the control to someone else. Object creation control was in your hand. I will give it to Spring Framework. Now the next question, how does the Spring Framework does? The Spring Framework will make sure this control inversion a successful one with the help of 2 terminologies which you should be aware, which is configurable file, IOC container. Okay, what is this configurable file? The file which has the details about the available classes. To our example, available SIM cards. IOC container is a container which contains the object of the available classes. Clear? The Spring Framework has two things, which is configurable file and IOC container. Configurable file will have the details about the available classes. IOC container contains the object of the available classes. Now, the step one or the steps which you wanted to do is you have to connect your configurable file and IOC container. Okay, this is your step number 1. After connecting this, the step number 2 is fetch the object from the IOC container. Clear? These are the things which you are going to do it. You may ask me, ma'am, object creation itself is easy, right? Why should we do all this complicated work? Again, I'm telling you, we are not going to do this complicated work. We are not going to create object also. We are not going to do complicated work or complicated steps, which I've told you now also. It will be internally done. What is internally happening, you should know a knowledge on that. That is why I'm explaining you. Okay, now I will create my configurable file. I have to create it inside SRC main Java. Right click new under file. I'll name my file to be beans.xml. The reason why am I naming it to be beans.xml is the other technical name for class is beans. Is that clear? The other technical name for a class is beans. That is why I'm telling you beans.xml. So beans.xml is created. You have to open it with the text editor. Go with open with text editor. So again, this has some common inputs to be added. Right now, I'll take from the previous project, and at the end of the session, I'll give you the information. I mean the website link from where can you take that. Okay, I will say open with text editor, and this is the information. This is the information of your bean. That's it. And I've opened the beans tag. So I'll close the beans tag. Done. Now, this is the first step. What is the step number? I mean, what all the terminologies you should know? You should have no configurable file, or you should create your configurable file. We have created configurable file. Next, it should have the information about the available classes. So over here, I will I'll give the information of the class. How do? You have to open a bean tag and you have to give the keyword class and you have to give the class name. When you give your class name, you should give a complete, fully qualified name. Okay. What is fully qualified name? Does someone remember? We have used this term in our core Java. What is fully qualified name? Okay. We have learned this term called fully qualified name in the concept of packages. In case if you do not remember, if you have made note, please do go and have a look. Fully qualified name means when you write your class name along with your package name. Now I'm going to give the information on the class called Yartel. It is inside the package com.cg.spring IOC. So I'll say com.cg.spring IOC. The class name was Yartel. You give this. Okay. And whenever you give your class, open tag of in your HTML, the XML, you have to close it. You can either close it separately or you can simply give a close tag over there. And you have told this is your available class. Agreed. After that, you have to give the object reference also. Saying like once the object is created, it should get a reference, right? Only then we can fetch it out. So I'll give a reference as A. This is done. So in your configurable file, we have given the detail about the available class. As of now, I have given only one. What should you do for if you wanted to give multiple? Just do a copy and paste it and modify as per your info. Geo. Done. Now here, this is done. Next one, IOC container. What all IOC container we have? We have 2 IOC container. Out of that, one was a older one and the other one was a newer one. Okay. The older one was Beans Factory. Okay. The older one was Bean Factory and the newer one was Application Context. Why am I writing out everything over here? Because I wanted you to make a note of it. Okay, the newer one was Application Context. So now this is your interface. Okay, both Beans Factory and Application Context are your interface. Now tell me, can we create object for interface? Can we create object for interface or not?
No, ma'am.
No. So what do we need? If we wanted to access the methods inside your interface, what do you need? Implementable classes, correct? So what was the implementable class of your application context is class path XML application context. Class path XML application context. Done. So now, instead of creating an object like this, okay, I will create the object of the implementable class, which is this new class path XML application context. And you have to get the permission, I mean import statement. Done. And this is the implementable class of what? It is implementable class of application context interface. So you say here application context interface C is equal to, and you get the permission over here. Done. Now you have created configurable file. You have accessed IOC container. Now you have to connect your configurable file and IOC container. What was the name of our configurable file in our project? What is the name? Just now I told you at the time of creation, what was your configurable file name? It is, yeah, someone has an answer. Tell me.
Beans.
Beans.xml. So you have to give that in your argument of your implementable class beans.xml. Done. Now you have connected it. Now how will you fetch it? You have to fetch it from your IOC container, right? So you have a method called getBeans. GetBean. Which object you wanted to fetch? There are 2 available classes. Yartel you have, Geo you have. I want to fetch Yartel. So what is the reference of Yartel? It is A. So I'll give that as an argument. Sorry. I'll give that as an argument to my getBean method. Now this is fetched. But after fetching, I wanted to store it somewhere. So where will I store? Since it is an object reference of Yartel, I will create a variable of Yartel. Now I'm getting an error. Why? Because your right hand side is object. Your left hand side is a non-primitive variable because Yartel is a user-defined class. So it's a non-primitive variable. So you will get a type mismatch issue, which is again a Java concept. So I'll do a typecasting. I will cast this to Yartel. Okay. Now using this, instead of calling directly with the object reference, I will say call it with this. Now when you run your code, you get the same output. Now in case if you wanted Geo, it is also available inside your configurable file. So here you will say for Geo it is J and this is Geo and variable should be also of Geo and you should call method also using geo. Now, when you run your code, you get your output. Is this clear till now? Okay. Now the next question is, in case if I'm adding one more SIM card to the package, then what will I do? I come to my Beans XML, I give the information and I modify it over here. But I feel this is also not an 100% effective one. What if the into the market some new SIM card comes, then again I keep changing the project? No, that's not a good approach. So instead of that, I think in a reverse manner. Whichever SIM card comes, can I say that SIM card will implement the SIM interface? Can I say that or not? Whichever SIM card is coming into the market, obviously it takes the basic features of the SIM card. That is what we have kept inside the interface. So what I'll do is, I will give a generalized name, and instead of creating multiple lines over here, I will give only one line, which is SIM with Airtel. And over here, I will always give SIM. That is my reference. And I'll say typecast it to SIM interface. Typecast, I mean, I'm creating a variable of SIM. And I'll create of SIM. At the end of the day, everything is a SIM card. So I'll give SIM. Done. Now, if I wanted to choose Airtel, Airtel is there. You get your output. If I want to go for Jio, I give Jio. You get your output. Okay, in case if I want, after some years of project creation, if some new SIM card is coming into the market, let's say V1. Okay, now I'll say V1 also implements SIM. So this will also go for unimplemented methods. And here you get calling using V1. And here you say data using V1. Done. Now, if I want V1 to use, coming here, just I'll say V1 and you get output. So at the end of the day, do I change any thing to my public static void main class? No. So after how many years also, if any SIM card comes into the market, what will I do? I will add that SIM card features. That's it. Then coming to my configurable file, I'll give that class name. That's it. When I run, it is automated. Simple. In real time, you just change the SIM card in your mobile and you enable that to be used. Then automatically you get your SIM features to be added. I mean the data available or the calling features, the SMS available, the count available, everything will be added. This is the concept of inversion of control. So this is how your Spring Boot will internally do that, because Spring Boot is one of the project of Spring Framework. Is everyone clear with this till now? Okay, great. Now here comes your next question. Always do your classes have only methods or does it also have variables? Will it have variables also or only methods? Variables also. I believe that you'll agree with me. So for example, every SIM card will have a unique ID. So I'll say int ID. Okay. Now your Geo will also have int ID. Okay. So your V1 will also have int ID. Done. Okay. Now here what will you do is, so instead of closing this over here, you close it separately. And here you add your input. What was the second terminology which I told you? The first terminology was IOC, which is inversion of control. What was your second terminology? Dependency injection. So what is this dependency injection is? Your variables are dependent on the class. When you wanted to use your SIM card, you wanted to know the mobile number, I mean the SIM card number. What was your mobile number? Only then you can use it. So you are dependent on that. So that input, we are going to inject it. For the ID, we are going to tell what is the value. That is dependency injection. How do you inject dependency? Or how will the value will be injected internally is nothing but there are two possible ways. One is through getters and setters. The other one is through constructors. In case if it is through getters and setters, generate getters and setters over here. Okay. So after generating getters and setters, come to your beans.xml and give the tag of property. And for which dependency you are going to inject value? For the dependency ID. Okay. And what is the value you are going to inject? I will say some number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some random numbers, and close your property tag. And why did I keep this property tag in between of your bean closing and opening is this ID is to be injected with this value for which class? For V1 class. So make sure in your V1 class you have getters and setters. Generate getters and setters over here. Now see here, the value will be injected. Now in case if you wanted to inject this value for Airtel, you just change this to be Airtel. We have an option of changing the network alone instead of number. Having the same number, you can change the network. Yes or no? Something similar, you can do that also over here. So this is dependency injection. This is using getters and setters. In case if you wanted to go with constructor, so instead of generating getters and setters, you go generating constructors. What is the tag name? Instead of property, you have constructor argument. That's it. Now you get your output as usual. So only the tag name varies. We know how to generate getters and setters. We know how to go with the constructors, and I mean how to generate constructor. Just you have to generate the constructors of that. Okay. And why did we get error? The reason is so what does it says? There was a parameter difference. We have given ID only. Okay, again, it's purely issue with my application only. I want you to check it out. Again, there was a connectivity issue. Okay, so dependency injection means injecting a value to your variable. In simple terms, in technical terms, injecting the input to the dependency. That is dependency injection. How do you do it? Two possible ways, using getters and setters or through constructors. In case if it is through getters and setters, go with property tag. In case if it is through constructor, go with constructor argument. And here comes the end of your technical discussion for the day. And I want every one of you to have your Spring Tool Suite installed in your laptop so that in the next session, when I help you to understand the CRUD operation, it will be helpful. Will you guys able to install your Spring Tool Suite in your laptop?